Don't worry, Eagles fans. Kevin Patullo, he did a good job. It's like talking to my dogs upstairs. Good boy. Good girl. That's what it sounds like when Nick Sirianni talks to Kevin Patullo. We got more Eagles talk, guys. Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, whatever you want to talk about, live or on replay. Trending in the AM, we get started in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM, right here on the STT Sports Network. We're live, YouTube and Twitter. Please, wherever you're watching, hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, and make sure you vote on our YouTube poll question of the day. Does Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts need to be more vocal in their leadership of the Eagles? Yes, no. Nick Sirianni does, Jalen Hurts does. They're your four poll question options, only over on the YouTube page, guys. But first and foremost, whether you're watching this now live or on replay, hit that like and subscribe button and share this out. Continuing to grow the channel. We're up to 880, 20 away from 900, guys. I'm Phil Stiefel. We got lots to get into. I got a lot of Duck comments already while he was up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the show to dive into. But real quick, the Eagles, we're on a short week. We're coming off our first loss in a little while. Pretty rough loss. Pretty demoralizing loss. And the word we get from, or the phrase we get from our head coach of our football team yesterday when he speaks, as he always does, the day after a game on the Monday after a game, when asked about Kevin Patullo, is that Kevin Patullo will not be relieved of his play calling duties. Kevin Patullo did not do a bad job. And I quote from Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo did a good job. And it leads me to a lot of thoughts, a lot of processing going on in my head, where it's probably better suited to say something nice than to say something bad. But do we need to see Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts lead a little bit more vocally? And I don't mean verbally vocally, just more adamant the way they lead. I don't feel that we've got to call people out publicly. But do our top leaders got to hold the people below them more accountable? And that's what this poll question is getting at. We know Kevin Patullo is not doing a good job. We know it's not all on him. But we don't need to hear Nick Sirianni stand up for these guys and say they're doing a good job. We need to hear, yeah, well, there's some improvements that need to be made. We've got to figure out why it only works sometimes. Just straight up saying he did a good job. Feel like I'm talking to my dogs. My dog pissed her shit on the floor. But then they sat down and wagged their tail. So, good boy. It's like giving a treat to a dog for doing one good thing after 5 bad things. It's kind of crazy to me. And sometimes it becomes a little hard to handle the way Nick Sirianni will never not take a bullet for one of his team, one of the people on his team or his coaches. Let's fire through some of these early Duck comments from just like 5 o'clock in the morning. Why should we panic? Not our jobs on the line. If they don't make the playoffs or Super Bowl, or if their performance is below acceptable, the Laurie and Roseman's problem. So, yeah, the question, the title of the day, Nick Sirianni is not panicking. So why should we, or why are we? Clearly, there's no panic in Nick Sirianni's voice when you hear him talk. As a fan, I have several concerns. One, players are unprepared to play. They are unprepared to play. Chronic problem with being able to put together a full game by the offense. Absolutely a problem. 2A, which coach will take responsibility to create an effective path forward? And that's the kind of the question that I'm asking at this top of the show. Seems like there is no responsibility being taken. A lot of generic, well, I got to be better at my job, and that's it. Why have our future player practice squad been able to get up to speed? Well, you're going to get some, and we're going to get into that in a second. We're going to have some forced practice squad players this year. 3A, is this a coach's decision to keep a subpar player on the 53 roster of testing? You're talking about Xavier Gibson, which is ridiculous. What has leadership response to what they are seeing? Howie normally would comment on this. Yeah, Howie's been pretty quiet. What is the go-forward process postseason? I'm not worried about postseason. I'm worried about how can we make this season still acceptable. I got woken up at 4:30 this morning. So you were working early this morning. It's kind of funny, all the comments the last 2 days before the show. Good morning. They should have made a change of Patullo making play calls, but they are boys, so it won't happen. I don't know, Adam. I don't know what the reasoning is. Now, I will say this. I think making a play calling change on Monday afternoon, the 24th, when you play on Black Friday, probably not a good decision. It should have happened before, or it'll happen after. But making that call, making that change, doesn't necessarily fix the problems. It doesn't make the offensive line get healthy. It doesn't make Saquon magically run through holes. It doesn't make, the defense make another. Like, making the play calling changes won't fix the root of the problem, which to me is still the health of the offensive line. But you definitely don't make that drastic change on a short week. The problem is it should have already been made. Good morning, Robert. How you doing today? Hope you're well. Good morning, Suzanne. Hope you are well as well. Panthers stink. Yeah, 49ers had a pretty easy victory last night. What was it, like 20-9, 21-9? Something like that last night. Good for them. Good for you. Hurts needs to call more plays during the game. People always ask about, why doesn't Hurts just audible more? We have seen Hurts audible some years more than others. Is that on the coaching telling him not to? Is that on the coaching telling him this is what we want to do? Not giving him multiple options at the line? I mean, we already heard the offensive line was ill-prepared. Is he not prepared to make those audibles? They don't need these hands. These hands wreck lives. Okay, come get these hands. You don't have to say they are doing a good job when it's obvious that they are not. Exactly. It's about optics, about phrasing. It's about choice of words. I talk about complaining about A.J. Brown laughing at his locker, after Sunday's game. Optics. We know there's problems. I guarantee you Nick Sirianni knows there's problems. Saying nothing is better than saying something. Saying Kevin Patullo is doing a good job. We know you're lying or not, or clueless. Just say, when asked about Kevin Patullo's play calling and whether it's on the table to even consider making that change, all you got to say is, I will always do everything in my power to evaluate everyone, including myself, to make the best decisions going forward for the team. Just that simple phrase that I just said, just came up with it without even thinking about it, would be a stronger statement. Look, I can't make it. Would basically be this is basically his last chance because we're on a short week. This would give you. But now, you make a change now. You have to go back on your word. You said he's doing a good job. You said, no, we are not considering making a change. You made definitive statements that you are content with the job Kevin Patullo is doing. And that makes you look like a bad head coach. I'm not asking for Nick Sirianni to be fired. I don't think Nick Sirianni is going anywhere for years to come. But Nick Sirianni is at risk of losing this locker room, in my opinion, if something doesn't change soon in his philosophical way of handling certain things. Duck Manifesto, he's giving us something very quickly early. Why should we be at ease? Because Nick showed no panic. He might be in panic mode and just masking it. Nick does not know the art of play calling, and Kevin Patullo is learning from Nick. All things that are accurate statements, Jonathan. And the thing is, like I just said, it's easier to say nothing or leave a more open-ended answer to a question than being definitive, which then makes you look bad. Hurts got his Peter slapped when he was vocal. Why would he continue to do so? Yeah and no. We don't really know if he got told to quiet down. We really don't know that. That's just us thinking that. I think the Bears will win bigly. There is a chance. And that really comes down to the secondary. Andrew Mukuba has been ruled that he's got a broken ankle that will require surgery. His timetable to return is unknown till surgery. You're looking at 4 weeks. You're looking at the rest of the year. Reed Blankenship, no update on his hamstring or his quad. And Adoree Jackson, no update on another concussion from him. So you're going to have a secondary with either Ja'Cory Bennett or Keely Ringo starting. They already talked that Michael Carter might play safety. Sidney Brown will be out there. And then the practice squad, you got Perry Nickerson and Andre Sam that could get elevated. That's your secondary with Q and Coop next week or later this week against the Bears. Caleb Williams is playing damn good football all of a sudden. That secondary is thin. So something's going to have to happen so that the Bears don't win bigly, as you like to say. Sirianni is losing his Super Bowl win credibility quickly. I don't agree, but I understand why you say that. Because I see people saying this on Twitter all the time. I think his Super Bowl credibility lasts a little longer. Tinfoil hat and oh yeah, exactly. I could totally see it. You think Jeffrey Lurie told Nick not to throw Patullo under the bus? I don't think so. This is a very Doug Peterson-esque sticking up for your guy kind of scenario, Adam, in my opinion. I think if anything, Jeffrey Lurie will tell Nick Sirianni to make a change if a change does become necessary. If we go out there and the offense on Friday is stagnant again for parts of the game, that's when Jeffrey Lurie will step in and say, yo, it's time to make a change. I know you don't want to, but you got to. As a CEO, who doesn't want to lose a staff member? He would have to get them mentoring and help. Yeah. And maybe that'll be the answer on the long weekend. Maybe you send them on a dark retreat with Doug Peterson or something like that. I don't know. I sense a slide, whatever that word is. I can't even read it. What's up, Delco Green? How you doing today? If Lurie is still meddling in day-to-day operation, that's when I'll start to worry. Yes, that's true. Now, I don't doubt that he will meddle if it does continue to go downhill this year. That is what Jeffrey Lurie does. I'll worry about Jeffrey Lurie's meddling when he's wearing a helmet on the sideline, listening to what's going on. The new owner of the Colts, what's her name? That's when I'll begin to worry. Hurt goes from vocal and frustrated on the sidelines for 3 weeks to sitting by himself and sulking. Yeah, he got his Peter slap. Maybe. Or maybe his vocalness wasn't listened to. Maybe he tried to be vocal and that didn't work. Yes, Sidney Brown is a reckless dummy. Sidney Brown's a special teams gunner, and that's it. Sidney Brown should not be a starting safety. I said that before the season started. That it was a concern of mine. That Drew Mukuba was going to have no problem stealing that job from him. And it didn't even take till week 1 for that to happen. Sidney Brown, not a starter. But he is going to be called upon. I know everybody wants to. This is another opportunity. Opportunity number 47 for the Eagles to try to sign Justin Simmons. But you're not bringing somebody in on a Tuesday or Wednesday to play in a game that hasn't played all year long on a Friday. So Sidney Brown and Andre Sam or Michael Carter, that's your starting safeties probably on Friday. He put his name on the line on his boy who was making him look like a blind idiot. Yeah. So here's the thing. I love the whole sticking up for your guys. I love, hey, This guy's got to get a chance. I'm going to give my boy a chance. His first chance as an OC. I respect it, helping people out. But let me tell you something. Biggest mistake you can make as a business owner, as a CEO, as a manager, is to not fix the business because you're afraid. It's separating friendship and work. Nick and Kevin might be bestest of buds. But you know what? Work is work. You can't be out there risking your career for somebody else. You can't be out there risking your company for one person. No one coach or player is above the organization. And that's what Nick Sirianni seems to be doing with Kevin Patullo. This mentoring and help should have been done in weeks 4 or 5 when it wasn't getting it better. Probably should have been. In hindsight's 2020. Some of you said it then, and now I'm on board. It should have happened. Send Patullo to a dark retreat with Aaron Rodgers. We might never see him again. The downfall of Nick will be his buddy, Kevin Patullo. He has to see it coming. Yeah, this is not Tommy not seeing it coming, okay? He doesn't think he's becoming a made man. He's got to see it coming. It's really confusing because this has happened before. Obviously, it happened with Doug Peterson and Press Taylor here in Philly. There's a track record. And what happens if you stand up for your buddy and it doesn't work out? We already see that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman will not take sides against the family being the organization and team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Bet you Howie Roseman isn't keeping guys around that are his best friends that aren't doing their job well. Whoever scouted for him, all those 6th, 7th, and undrafted free agent offensive linemen that failed, he ain't going to be listening to them. It's comforting illusion to blame one guy for systematic problem. Our O-line has played like shit. Absolutely. And making a change at the play caller position, K1, does not instantly heal up the offensive line. Making changes at the play caller doesn't make Saquon Barkley hit the hole quicker. Making play calls or play caller changes does not make A.J. Brown run routes out, okay? There are so many problems on this team. We are still 8-3, mind you. We are still I think they said a 97% chance likelihood of winning our division. It would take an epic collapse not to win our division. But we have Super Bowl expectations as well. Kaylin Jackson. Okay, Irsay's I know it was Irsay's daughter. Couldn't remember her name. Yeah, it's his daughter. Took over ownership. I sense a slide reminiscent of 23 and another loss. This time the offense will be the reason it's falling apart. Look, everybody wants to compare this year to 23. I get it. I also don't get it. Totally different teams, totally different situations. But a short-term slide, like another loss this week, might force the Eagles to make the changes that Nick Sirianni don't want to make, which could benefit the slide being short and not a long-term slide like it was in 23. It doesn't have to all fall apart like 23 for the whole season. A 2-3 game loss stretch, maybe that's the wake-up call, and you have the long weekend to kind of lick your wounds and make the necessary changes. Duck had to put a cap lock warning on this take, okay? Does anyone think that Sirianni is racist? He didn't put his support for Johnson or Desai. He called them out after the second week of bad play calling. I don't think so. I have no idea how to respond to that. No clue. So I doubt it. Ben Johnson or Brian Johnson wasn't his guy, and Sean Desai wasn't his guy, I guess. So no. I'm going to say no, but maybe. Our O-line is not the worst. We went from the best to the middle. That means play calling can adjust for that. Cam Jurgens is ranked the 27th or third worst safety or center in football this year. Fred Johnson was the worst offensive lineman or tackle in football this past week. So the offensive line is not good. It's not even average. Log off, man. I think that's a controversial take that I don't think there's any proof of. Cowboys have a 10% chance to make the playoffs. Good for them. Good for them. There are plays that are blocked extremely well, and Saquon indeed bounced it out for a 3-yard gain. Would have been a touchdown last year. Yeah, look, it's not all on the offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line isn't healthy, but obviously Saquon has lost a step too. It still drives me nuts. In the last 3 games, since Tank Bigsby had the 100-yard game against the Giants, Tank Bigsby has 8 runs. Tank Bigsby was on the field for 3 plays. Look, I'm not saying you split carries between Tank and Saquon. Saquon is a generational running back. He's lost a step this year. Not saying he can't get it back. Not saying it's all on him. But there's a simple tweak you can make. As Kevin Patullo, the play caller, to figure it out. As Jeff Stoutland, the run game coordinator. Hey, we got to get Tank on the field, Kevin, more than 3 times a game. We got to get him 6 to 8 touches a game. A, it'll help Saquon, but B, it'll give the defenses something to worry about. We had in that Giants game where Tank and Saquon ran all over the Giants. We had multiple formations with Tank and Saquon in the backfield. And it went for effective plays. I don't think I've seen it once since then. That's on the play calling. That's on the game planning. That's on all the coaches. Sleep deprivation is kicking in. No, keep commenting. Yeah. The O-line playing like shit is Stoutland's responsibility, and play calling downright can minimize poor play. Well, so it's a combination of things. The injuries aren't Stoutland's fault. The O-line not playing well is. The injuries. Jeff Stoutland working and communicating with Kevin Patullo. Look, X, Y, Z isn't working because of A, B, and C. Can we try RST instead to alleviate some of the problems that the offensive line is having? Don't just run it because you like the play. Run it because we got the proper pieces in place. Yeah, no. I think it was a little overblown. I think it was a little overblown. Duck getting out of his zone there with that comment. Saquon's vision ain't what it was last year. His movement is fine, but the vision is missing. If it's the vision, isn't the vision, like my vision gets bad when I'm tired, physically exhausted. Can his body just not be functioning, at 100%, which is slowing down reaction time? I think you can get vision back. Tank needs a bigger role for sure. It's not even about Tank. You can say Shipley needs a bigger role. You can say anything like that, right? Anybody needs a bigger role to kind of just change things up. And that goes to the predictability of this offense. It is not the misstep as much as it is the vision. The vision comes from film study and anticipation. He can still explode easily. Yeah, I guess also with the offensive line, though, instead of having 0.5 seconds with the vision to study to hit the hole, he's got 0.3 seconds now. So he's got to speed up his reaction time. So gratified to see Phil coming around on Tank season. It's not Tank season. It's something different season, just so you know. It is pretty criminal to think he rushes for 100-plus yards on 8 or 9 carries, then doesn't get that many carries combined the next 3 weeks. Just say what it is. Play Tank more. No one is trying to replace Saquon. See what he could do. Exactly. He's trying to find a spark. Trying to figure out something different. Yeah. I guess I gotta screen your comments the rest of the show. What's up, New? Since when do we fully trust Sirianni? I mean, I trust Sirianni. I still have nothing but the utmost respect and confidence. And personally, just in my opinion, and everybody's warranted to their own opinions, I think massive criticism of Nick Sirianni that's going on in Philly right now is a bit much, considering the fact that he is the winningest coach in Eagles history, despite 2 of the last 3 years going to the Super Bowl and winning one. So I do think we have to have some faith, so to say, in Nick Sirianni, that he'll figure it out. And even if he doesn't figure it out, then he'll figure it out next year. Commenting like blank plays, out of position. Got you. Well, you're going to be missing Reed Blankenship this week if he doesn't play. You might not love Reed Blankenship's play, but the drop-off from Reed to, say, an Andre Sam, you're going to wish he was out there. Yeah. Last year was easier because we could trust the size of the hole. Tank style is more conducive for amount of time the hole is open. Okay? We don't need blind faith, but a little perspective would be nice. Yeah, look, and that's a big thing here. I think Nick is asking us to have blind faith, right? By him saying Kevin Patullo did a good job. Kevin Patullo is not losing his job. He's telling us to have blind faith that they will figure it out. And while we want to compare to 23, we want the results of 24, every year is different, right? But because of his previous success, we're supposed to trust him. But he's got to give us a little perspective on why we should trust him, right? And that's where phrasing what he says differently. All right. I gave you one example of what he could have said. Well, you want us to have blind faith? Well, give us a perspective on why. Kevin Patullo has had some ups and downs, and we're working really hard and diligently to figure out what we need to do as a team to have a complete 60 minutes of football. There. I answered the question in a way that didn't give Kevin Patullo support, but gave Kevin Patullo support. Phrasing matters. Optics matters. Trayvon Edmonds is the Barkley wrecker, they say. We'll find out. Well, then you're not a true racist. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to get into the race conversation. I don't. They also run Tank to outside much more than they have Saquon do it. When they use Saquon on the outside, they pass to him. Yeah. It comes down to predictability with the offense, with Saquon, with Tank, with everyone as well. Just as much. With predictability on offense, definitely is in the play calling. For sure. All this part of the press conference is a waste of time. All right, then what wouldn't be a waste of time, K1? Do you want to talk about 2026 and whether Christian Bazunu is going to win a golf tournament this year? Would that be a better, more pressing use of our time this morning? Look, this season doesn't have to spiral out of control. This season doesn't have to be like 2023. We also know from 2023, making that change like they did on defense doesn't always make things better. In fact, in 2023, going from Desai to Patricia made things worse. And they learned that. You know, I think it was like a month ago, Nick Sirianni, or maybe it was Jalen Hurts, said, we learned a lot from 23 and how to not let it happen again. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe Nick Sirianni doesn't want to make the change with Kevin Patullo because he saw it fail. Okay? Saw it fail, making those changes. Italians sticking together. Yeah, look, yeah, us Italians, we do stick together. Wife made me watch, speaking of Italians, sticking together. My wife made me watch on Netflix last night, Nona's little sappy movie with Vince Vaughn hiring a bunch of grandmas to cook at his restaurant. It was such a cute little Italian show. Made me think of my grandma a lot last night with that movie. Some people probably think Bazunu would be a better offensive coordinator. He might be. We don't know. I don't even know if Bazunu knows football. He's a European, I think. I don't even know where he's from, but I'm assuming he's European. He's probably more of a soccer guy. We didn't get to talk about the union. We didn't really mention in soccer, maybe remember, that we spent so much time yesterday bitching about the Eagles. But on Sunday, the Eagles lost, the Sixers lost, and the Union lost in the semifinals, the Eastern Conference semifinals, a la the Sixers all those years on Sunday. It was an 0-for-3 day in Philly on Sunday. We will have a better chance at the Super Bowl this year than Bazoon Hoot winning a championship. That is true. That is true. The Eagles need to hire Doug Peterson as offensive coordinator next year. And I was against it, the consultant kind of role. Doug Peterson has offered his help to come in some kind of a interview spot somewhere. Maybe they do need to bring in a consultant. And maybe this weekend after the game is when they do it. You've got, 9 days to prepare for the next game instead of 7. So maybe they will bring in a Doug Peterson type. Maybe. We'll see. It was a cute, sappy movie. It really was. Great cast. Great to see some of those great older actresses in such a good role again. A little sappy. But the Italian memories, the old Italian kitchen when he's having those flashbacks with his grandma and stuff. That I remember those kind of tiny-ass little kitchen, just like my grandma in Upper Darby. Dude, so many sappy memories last night in that movie. I missed the Flyers last night. Did they suck ass outmatched or something else? I don't even know. He's South African? I'm not fact-checking you. I'm just going to assume you're accurate on that. So he knows cricket probably then. Tank doing better behind same crippled O-line than Barkley when he gets a chance. Why? Maybe Barkley feels pressure to perform knowing he's targeted. See, the thing is, I think it's the opposite. I don't think it's pressure from Barkley. It's defenses are selling out to stop Barkley. Okay? Defenses know when Barkley's in there, certain formations or certain kinds of runs. There's no predictability on what they're going to do when Tank's out there. And when Tank's out there, they're trying to stop A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I think it's more that than Barkley feeling the pressure, so to speak. Flyers were outmatched. Also, that game was boring as hell. You didn't miss anything. Good. You're what? There is a restaurant in New York City that has different nuns. We found that out last night afterwards. I found out about that restaurant. The next time we go to New York, we got to go and check it out because that would be pretty awesome. Guys, if you haven't yet, if you haven't, please, there's 15 people watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share, and vote on the poll question of the day. Does Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts need to be more vocal? Yes is at 77%, no at 8%. Just Jalen is at 15%, and no one voted. Just Nick Sirianni's got to be more vocal. And here's the thing. Nick Sirianni, the title of today's show is Nick Sirianni is not panicking. So why are we? Nick Sirianni standing up there yesterday saying Kevin Patullo is doing a good job and being stoic as he is and taking the bullets for the team. Here's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I might be concerned about it, right? That I want a more vocal and different optics. But maybe, again, we should trust Nick Sirianni that he knows his team. He knows his locker room. And the way he acts in front of the media, does that build him more, I don't want to use the word street cred, does that make the locker room, does the way Nick Sirianni do things keep the potential of a locker room breaking apart together longer? Or would Nick Sirianni changing, being more vocal, being more honest, bring the locker room together? I don't know if the locker room's breaking apart. I don't think it is. Everybody you hear talk, whether it's A.J. Brown, Jordan Mailata, or anybody, says that locker room is as close as can be. Maybe the frustration we have with Nick Sirianni and how he's handling his business is handled the way it is because that's what this locker room needs to stay together. We don't need a locker room falling apart, right? If you have to hire a consultant, then Nick and KP are a waste of payroll. Nick is offensive head coach, not a defensive-minded head coach. Yeah, but I get that. I get that theory, and I understand that. And that's kind of why I always felt a consultant is a bad kind of vibe, so to speak. I guess is the way I'm saying it. Is it a bad vibe? I don't know. But obviously it's too late to fire Kevin Patullo and bring in a whole new offensive coordinator. Kevin Patullo needs help. Maybe just during the week getting prepared. I mean, how ugly is it? of a perspective when you have multiple offensive linemen talking about how the Cowboys threw this crazy five-man front that's never been done before to you, and you were ill-prepared. I got Cowboys content creators that I chat with. They're saying, dude, we've been running that five-man front for weeks on end. How are you not prepared for it? Maybe Nick Sirianni or Kevin Patullo needs help preparing during the week. And he needs help preparing how to evaluate things at halftime and make pivots. Saquon needs to stop choking in big moments too. I mean, the drops and the fumbles this year and last year, it's a problem for Saquon. I mean, you think about it. Back-to-back possessions, you had the Gibson and Saquon fumble. It's not good. So you can blame play calling. You can blame the offense all you want. But Saquon and Gibson's fumble, even if one of those fumbles don't happen, the game may be out. The outcome may be different. MTV canceled. Yeah, it was like a couple weeks ago. That lasted a long, long time for sure, though. I think the channel's just going out of business if they cancel that. Yeah, my day has been real. My day was ruined a week ago when that was announced. Chad Powers is a good quarterback, but he's still bad with the fans. Okay. Landon Dickerson is a very well-articulated individual. He will be a coach one day. He is the one I expect to start handling shit in that locker room. He clarified all those comments. Did he speak more after those comments? Because I was out a lot yesterday, so I missed a lot of stuff yesterday. When Landon Dickerson is speaking up saying, look, we were not prepared for that, that's not a good sign. Okay? Not a good sign at all. It's over, Barkley crew, is it? What's up, Tim? No reason to have Gibson returning when Covey is on the practice squad. Like, I didn't fact check this, Tim, and one of the big Eagles Twitter accounts posted this stat yesterday that Xavier Gibson, in his career in the NFL, has touched the football 38 times. He has fumbled the ball 12 of those 38 times. That is a near 30% fumble rate. Every time he touches the ball, there's a 30% chance that he's going to fumble it. Xavier Gibson. Yet he got cut from the Jets because of fumble issues. And the Eagles thought he was going to fix it here. Britton Covey has not been elevated once. The problem is this week, you got potentially 2 starting safeties and a starting cornerback that are going to be out. Those practice squad elevations may have to come with a Perry Nickerson or an Andre Sam. So you really can't elevate, Covey unless you're cutting Gibson. Quite frankly, I'd cut Gibson immediately and just promote Covey full time. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a Britton Covey guy. Very good punt returner, but gives you nothing else offensively speaking. Also, our defense was shredded, but nobody's calling on Vic. I said it on the check down Sunday night into Monday morning. I said it yesterday. You gave up almost 500 yards of offense to the Dallas Cowboys. Over 350 passing yards. Okay? All you had to do was I don't care that you're gassed. Make one stop. Make one stop. And the game changes. Right? Where is the criticism of Vic Fangio from everybody else? Why isn't Vic Fangio getting criticized? Maybe it's because of the injuries. Most of those injuries happened later in the game. But it's pretty pathetic that all we want to do is blame the offense when all the defense had to do was make one stop. Just one. Don't know who that is. What? It's not a Detroit shirt. It's an Outer Bank shirt. Meche Poe, what's up this fine, beautiful morning? Hope you are well. I wanted to know what happened to Covey. Did his shoulder injury limit his ability to take a hit? Well, he's still on the practice squad. So it's not like he's on IR or anything like that. And he's not somebody that's been cut, then re-signed, then cut, then re-signed, then cut, like some of these other practice squatters. So he's been locked in on that practice squad the entire season so far. What's happening, Brianna? Good morning. Eagles game 11-28, 3 o'clock. 1, yes. They play 3 o'clock on Friday. The defense got shredded because they were gassed. The offense needed to ease more time and let them catch their breath. Also, Dallas was smart. Double, triple team Carter. Look, I get it. The defense was gassed at the end of the game. Well, they make a play earlier in the game. They gave up how many score? They gave up 4 scoring drives. Okay? Stop one of them. Make a play. All right? That's my opinion. Yes, they were gassed. Well, you know what? Make a play. And honestly, quite frankly, the offense won the time of possession of the Eagles. I watch Rob and Big. Good for you. I don't. Never watched it. When is the last time we had a good kick returner? Shipley's done okay this year. Will Shipley. So, yeah. That's what I said. We led in time of possession. Did I say it backwards, or are you responding to Freddie? All the defense had to do was make a play. And they did not do it. Yes. Adoree Jackson got hurt, and you had to go with Keely Ringo. But that wasn't the whole game. Reed Blankenship got hurt, yes. But not the whole game. Drew Mukuba was hurt. But that was late in the game. The defense had to make a play. They did not get pressure at all. Where was Jaelan Phillips? He was a ghost. Nolan Smith, a ghost. Brandon Graham, go back into retirement. The defense was bound to break after the whole season. Sidney Brown has taken out 4 teammates with his reckless diving at players. 4. Yeah. And it's going to be a problem this week, Tim. There's a chance not just that you need Sidney Brown to start, where Sidney Brown might be your most experienced safety going up against a very, very viable Bears offense. Like, can you imagine an Andre Sam, Sidney Brown safety room starting this week? Do you understand how bad that could be? I agree with you, K1, 100%. In that case, yeah, what you say, Vic? Look. We won the time of possession. Yeah, now they won the time of possession in the second half. Make a play. Somebody got to step up. We've heard all year long, well, sometimes the offense helps out the defense. Sometimes special teams helps out the offense and defense. And sometimes the defense picks up the pieces for the offense, right? A.J. Brown complained. We don't want the defense to have to carry us. Well, they didn't carry you for a game. And we lost. Sometimes the defense has got to step up and make a play. They didn't do it. If we want any player at a Super Bowl, or any player at a Super Bowl, the special teams need to rise up. That is how he's next place to evolve. Special teams, people hype up our special teams unit because of the blocked field goals and the blocked punt. But honestly, special teams has been inconsistently bad for years. Michael Clay is not as good as people think he is. You bring back Eli Ricks to play safety. I mean, he's gotten most of his work at cornerback, and I get maybe he might be a better safety than a cornerback, but I don't think he's been working as a safety. So you're just going to throw a below-average cornerback to the Wolves at starting safety? That's kind of a scary prospect right there. I said it all week that Brandon Graham's done nothing since he's come back. He's been brought back as an emotional leader. Well, look how good that worked for you. Phil not going to have the young bloods teaching him the lingo to mingle. No, I don't need to know what your young guy's lingo is. The lingo I use here is perfectly fine. Guys, make sure you've hit that like button and that subscribe button. Would greatly appreciate it to continue to boom this channel. We started today at 880 subscribers, a mere 120 from the ultimate goal. So, guys, hit those buttons. Would greatly appreciate it. Looks like we got 19 likes on the video. That's hard to imagine, but good job if we have. Phil, you better have turkey for dinner. Of course I'm going to have turkey on Thanksgiving. Why wouldn't I have turkey on Thanksgiving? It's the one day a year I eat Thanksgiving turkey. Or I eat turkey. Carter needs reps and familiarity with the team. That collision with Q was hard to watch. Coop would have banjoed that coverage. They're talking about Michael Carter as a safety. They talked about the possibility that when they traded for him, but Nick Sirianni didn't mention that yesterday. So you might get Sidney Brown and Michael Carter at safety. One thing is for sure, I think Cooper Dejean needs to stay in the slot. no matter what. What are you? You're just so random with your comments. You want content check? Well, I'm giving you a content check. Stick to football and baseball and basketball. Sixers do play tonight. Phillies hot stove rumors heating up, not in a good way. But all we're worried about right now is this Eagles team. And how do they right the ship? There can't be, like, we sit here every Sunday or every week and predict an Eagles victory on Sunday, Eagles blowout on Sunday, all this kind of stuff. But it's very hard to look ahead to this Chicago Bears matchup on Black Friday and say confidently that we think the Eagles can win this game. Almost impossible to think that the Eagles can win this game. And I kind of said that a loss to the Cowboys could be the wake-up call that the Eagles need. I'm not sure that was the wake-up call. Losing back-to-back games and losing to the Bears, that would be the wake-up call this team needs. Because you usually have special noodles and gravy. What are you talking about? Have Coop and Q mirror the two top wide receivers, allow the linebacker to cover the tight ends in the slot, and have a help defense rotate to help the D-backs. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. Is it, though? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really dove deep into the Bears yet to really look at why they're excelling and why they're not excelling. I'll do that over the next 24 hours. By Wednesday's show. Well, that's tomorrow, Wednesday. Shit. Then Thursday. I don't know. I'll have it done at some point this week. This week's, it's Tuesday, but with the short week, with Thanksgiving on Thursday, my mind's sitting here thinking, I got all this time this week to prepare. It's like tomorrow we got a lot of cooked bacon to do for Thanksgiving. And then Thursday's Thanksgiving. When am I going to do my pregame research? I don't even know. It's a shame Keeley can't change directions well because the dude has all the tools to be such a good safety. It kills his range. I know. You've been saying this for, I feel like, a decade about him. But we know he's not a good cornerback. They do have DJ Moore, and they have the rookie wide receiver. I forget how to say his name. You don't actually think Birds could lose to Bears, do you? Yes, I do. I do think the Eagles could lose to the Bears. That this could spiral into a 2 or 3 game losing streak. I do. We got our first vote for Nick Sirianni needs to be more vocal in his leadership. And I don't know who voted for it, but I think it's interesting. It's such a, I know you're making this, I don't know if you're making this actually just a generic comment or just a, throwing shade at the, well, of course, whoever scores more points wins kind of, comment. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. But honestly, there's not one team that would beat us right now with what we just witnessed this past week. Every team in the NFL has a chance against the Eagles. But what we have witnessed, no team stands a chance against the Eagles. This Eagles team is so frustratingly frustrating because they have all the talent in the world to dominate. Yet they don't for 60 minutes. Bears have played a lot of mid and poor teams. They're not good. This could be a huge Eagles win and stops the team from fixing. Yeah, and that's, do you want to lose just so they go to fix the problem? That's kind of the joke that I'm kind of making at there. I haven't really dug deep on the Bears, so I don't know if they've played a lot of mid and poor teams. I don't. I mean, I guess I can glance at their standings, NFL standings, go down here to the north. The Bears, they are in first place in their division as well. Let's see. They lost to the Vikings and Lions, beat the Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, Saints, lost to the Ravens, I guess the Steelers win this weekend was probably their best win of the season. Wow. Now that I actually go game by game at quick glance, their schedule has been pretty light. And their tougher games like the Lions, they've lost. Wow. I'm going to have to do a deeper dive still. We know Ringo stinks. Say that to my face. What? I don't know what you're saying here. Too late in the season to make changes. They beat the Steelers without Rodgers. That is true. The Steelers defense is still pretty solid. They did put up a 30-burger. If you don't have the 23 Cardinals game in your head, then you're not a true Philly fan. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying so hard not to let this season be compared to 23. We always talk about how the next season is the next season. You know, there's no need for this year to spiral like 23. We've learned from 23. I'm trying so hard to have that mentality and mindset on this Eagles team. But it's hard to do that when there's so many similarities to this team. And we've crossed the 20 concurrents a few times here, so there should be over 20 likes. Guys, like, subscribe, share, please. On the negative side is that the Eagles lose to an arrow after winning 4 straight again, or sweep NFC North, the positive possible side. Look, we have never, under Nick Sirianni, lost to the NFC North. That's a good thing. I still have the 15 Cardinals game in my head. It won't leave. That is true. That is true. They could bring in Doug P to consult for the offense, but that also puts Sirianni in the hot seat. Everyone would call. See, I don't know. The whole Doug Peterson thing, the one thing I will say with the Doug Peterson consultant thing is Doug Peterson would be willing to do it. I actually think Nick Sirianni would have no problem with it. Does Doug Peterson really want to work with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman? The people that kicked him out to the curb after winning a Super Bowl? I don't know how that awkwardness between Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman would be. Am I the only one who misses Madden on Thanksgiving? Oh. I mean, John Madden was the GOAT, yes. 2 in arrow, a.k.a. 2 in a row. Okay. So why don't you say 2 in a row? But at what point do you let go of the PTSD? We've won 2 of 3 Super Bowl in 7 years, right? Yeah. At some point, we just got to have faith that this team knows what they're doing. You know what? Cowboys fans have every right to gloat this week. Good. You're still not winning the division, but good. You capitalized on our lack of attention to detail and our lack of focus. The Cowboys did what they needed to do. If any Eagles fan says you got lucky, they're just crying. They're just masking. The Cowboys whooped our asses on Sunday. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. The love with Peterson was to have a complete change with Hurts taking over. It was an overhaul. Yeah. We did. Yeah. The Cowboys are the boys. We're the men, right? Yeah. There we go. I like that. I like that follow-up. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way to follow up the we them boys. Look, I can't argue with Cowboys fans this week. There's no argument I can make. I could say we won a Super Bowl, but I don't care about. I want to win a Super Bowl this year, and the way we played against the Cowboys isn't going to let us win another Super Bowl. Hell, the way we've played the last couple of weeks, we're not even going to get close to the Super Bowl. Is there any Eagles fan that has watched what they've seen over the last 4, 5, 6, the whole year, and think that this is a Super Bowl team? Yeah, we've got the Rams number, but are we really going to beat the Rams in the playoffs? I don't know. Hey, I call it the way I see it. I'm an Eagles fan, obviously. This is an Eagles channel. Well, Philadelphia sports channel. But I'm going to sit here and blow smoke up my own ass and trick myself into believing that the Cowboys only won because of the 14 penalties. Any of that kind of bullshit. Cowboys played 60 minutes. Eagles played 19. I think it was like 18 and a half to be exact. Goes back to Reed scoring a lot to start, then sitting back on the defense and getting beat in the end. Yeah, they got way too conservative, right? They let their foot off the pedal. I was right here live during the game saying, foot on throat, boot to ass. So greedy, yeah. What happened to our offensive line? It's a combination of things, okay? And this is a lesson for you. The 2,000-yard rusher last year. Everyone talks about Saquon being worn down. Jordan Mailata has said the offensive line was worn down from that. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson played in the Super Bowl with injuries that needed surgery immediately after the Super Bowl. They didn't have their full offseason to get prepared. Landon Dickerson tore a ligament in his knee and then started playing again 2 weeks later this year. Cam Jurgens is still hurt. He's got a bad back, concussion, and a knee brace on. Lane Johnson out this week. We are now 15-24 in Lane Johnson's career when he does not start. The O-line is injured, worn out, and exhausted from last year and this year. Plain and simple. Everyone always talks about the running back on how they look after a big season, but no one ever talks about the offensive line. They had to do the same thing. If we win the division and don't lose to Dallas in the playoffs, should they overcome their 10% odds, I think I'll be okay. So you're saying you're okay if the Eagles don't get to the Super Bowl? Big picture, I'd be okay with it. But in the heat of the moment, no, it's not okay. Because I want a championship every year. It'd be hard to believe you lost to boys. No, it's not. We better. What's up, little G? How you doing this morning? As much as the game has changed, if you can run, you can't win. You can't be one-dimensional, period. You cannot be one-dimensional. I don't even think that the Eagles team is one-dimensional. They're zero-dimensional. The Bills got blown out by the Dolphins. They did. And that's the thing here. Look around the NFL. Look around the parity in the NFL this year. Look at how many teams have struggled around the NFL this year in different situations. Are Bills fans overreacting like us? Are Lions fans overreacting like us? Actually, I do see Jason overreacting a lot. Just so you know. Are, Bucks fans overreacting like us? Are Chiefs fans? Maybe, I don't know. Are Chiefs fans calling for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid right now? I don't know. Maybe they are. Ravens, Steelers fans? There's so much parity in the NFL. Well, we're discussing whether this is necessary, but Nick Sirianni doesn't think it's necessary. Oh, I want another Super Bowl, but being real about the chances, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. Look, I get it. It's almost impossible to win back-to-back Super Bowls. That's why it happens so rarely, Defo. And there'll be small wins along the way. You know what I mean? Why do teams look for offensive whiz kids to become OC and the Eagles just promote a good guy? I think it's a fair question. In fact, I'm writing this down. I think this is a great question from you, okay? I don't know. But when they don't just promote a good guy, things work out pretty well. Can't stomach another meltdown a la 23 and letting Dallas get the last laugh on us. Yeah, I get it. But you even have a Cowboys fan saying, Dallas still won't make the playoffs. We aren't a playoff team. And this is not a knock on Cowboys fans, okay? I'm not trying to devalue the win. I want to preface this. But this past week, that was the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl. Getting revenge and beating the Eagles on a mid-November, Sunday afternoon. That was your big moment of the season. We hope it's not the downfall of our season, but we have bigger moments on the horizon. I don't think the Cowboys do. I think there's an outside chance they make the playoffs. I don't know what the rest of the schedule is, but Dallas is not the better team. They were the better team on Sunday. There's a difference. Bills are nowhere near the team Eagles are. Well, they're falling apart. Go back to all those Pats Super Bowl teams. Even they lost to the Finns and Bills. Shit happens. It's all out there. The answers are on the test. Yeah. A loss doesn't define a season at all. A Cowboys fan saying, I'm excited about the win. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of these Cowboys fans think we're Super Bowl contenders now. And look, I hope you subscribe to the channel. I hope you like and tune in. All are welcome. We've had plenty of Cowboys fans, be cool in the chat, and plenty of them be assholes in the chat. All are welcome to be on this channel and talk sports with us here, okay? We do this every morning for 90-plus minutes, all right? And the more subscribers I get, closer to 1,000, close to making some money, so I can put Christmas presents under the tree this year. But one game doesn't define a season, but you can learn from it, right? Yeah, I asked for a new notebook. My wife gave me an old binder with loose leaf in it. Had the Lions lost to the Giants, Cowboys' chances would have gone up plenty. Yeah, look, I think that's the problem. The NFC North is the problem why the Cowboys probably and a lot of teams won't make the playoffs, because you're going to get 2 wildcard teams from the NFC North, without a doubt. What? We'd be thinking of NFL players like guaranteed good robots. They are humans with motivations and bad days. Need to be dialed in or could lose to bad teams. Okay, I understand your comment. It looked like it was going to be a weird comment, but I get it. Absolutely feel that, TMC. All right? Everybody loses. Every year, we all predict our wins, losses. Oh, they're going to win these games. They're going to lose those games. They always win a game you don't expect, and every team loses a game you expect them to win. Eagles definitely need to bring Covey as their punt returner man for the rest of the season. Why they haven't is beyond me, Robert. Beyond me. Why we're stuck with Gibson and Dotson and all these non-punt returners returning punts when you've got, arguably, when Covey was here, was it 23? His full season. Last year he got hurt and missed a bunch of time, so it wasn't last year. Britton Covey in 23, I think, was the second best punt return in yards per return, third in total yards. Britton Covey's a damn fine punt returner. Yet he's been on our practice squad the entire season. No elevations. Nobody tried to steal him. Howie also hasn't cut him and rehired him 40 times, like some of the other fringe practice squatters, like a Titus Leo or an Eli Ricks, who's been cut and signed 47 times. We've gained 2 new subscribers today. We're up to 882, guys. 20 likes on the video, 20 votes on the poll. Keep up the hard work, guys. Keep hitting those buttons for me. I appreciate that. That is no notebook of knowledge. No, it's not. I asked for a trapper keeper. I got told no one knows what a trapper keeper is anyway. Where's Boston Scott, a.k.a. Baby Yoda? Is Boston Scott even in the NFL at this point? I don't know. It was 23. Number 2 punt returner. I think it was 2 in yards, 3 in yards per return, or vice versa, something like that. He was hurt most of last year. I know that as well. It's just, why? I still can't get out. Like, I'll bring it up again. We brought it up about 20 minutes ago. Xavier Gibson, 38 career touches in the NFL, 12 fumbles on those 38 touches. Like, that's insane. Having 12 fumbles on 38 plays is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Covey is a dog, but he's rotting away on our practice squad. And we've got punt returners fumbling. Granson does a few decent things, but not enough anymore. He was so unbelievably bad. There was one play that Saquon would have gotten 20 yards min if he touches one Cowboy. Yeah, another wasted roster spot right there. That's the problem with the Eagles. They got several players. What Super Bowl teams have several players wasting roster spots? Not practice squad spots, roster spots. Gibson, Granson, just to start, wasting roster spots. Honestly, at this point, Jacorian Bennett is a wasted roster spot. I predict Eagles 14-3. Now I'm sticking to my 12-5 prediction. I had them at 8-3 at this point. I had the Eagles at 8-3. And let's keep this all real and all in perspective. With the injuries on the offensive line, with the play calling, good or bad. The Eagles have played a schedule that involved the Cowboys twice, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Bucks, the Lions, the Packers. Just think of the juggernaut schedule through 11 weeks. The Broncos. The only easy games we faced this year were the 2 Giants games, and we lost one of those. Okay? 8-3 at this point of the NFL schedule of the Eagles. Let's be honest. I'd be happy if we were 6-4 right now. Okay? Like, this schedule was as difficult as possible to start the season. And we're 8-3. So maybe have faith, right? Covey, just what we need. Another guy destined for IR. All right. Trapper keeper, fanny pack, and slap-on bracelets and Reebok pumps. Or pumps, yeah. I got the knockoff Kmart version of the Reebok pumps. They weren't very good. Johnny Wilson's blocking ability could have covered up a few minor, as could Ben Van Summer. Like Cam Letou even. They're not using him enough, or is he just not good enough? I don't know. I think he was on the field for 3 or 4 snaps on Sunday. Okay? Yeah, Johnny Wilson's. I mean, they're using Darius Cooper in that role. He's not as good as Johnny Wilson blocking-wise. Predicted 11-6, and I'm sticking with it. And I think it's fair. I mean, you look at the rest of the schedule. There are a few. I mean, obviously, this week is a tough game. Obviously, against the Bears, based off of how they're playing and how we're playing. You still got the Chargers. That's the next week. What's that, a Monday? It's the next game Monday night. Damn. Then we got the Raiders and the Commanders and stuff like that. And the Bills. There's a couple more wins on the schedule for sure. There's a couple tough games on the schedule for sure still. They got to right the ship. They absolutely need to right the ship, the Eagles. How do they do that? I don't know. But maybe we need to be patient. Maybe that's how we right the ship. You right the ship by just winning. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's next. 21 likes. All right. How about that? At 882, we gained 2 subscribers. Adam, you didn't tell me. Before Washington made all these Ben-headed moves, I thought they would be an issue. And I said the same thing. Before the season news, I said the Washington Commanders, if they stayed healthy, would be a threat. The big if because of the age of all the players that they brought on. And obviously, all the old players have worn out, and Jane Daniels got hurt, obviously. I don't know if they're going to even try to bring Jane Daniels back or not. I don't know why the Bengals are considering bringing Joe Burrow back at this point. It is what it is. Those teams don't have a chance. I mean, I guess they do in theory, but they don't. I guess no team is, well, I guess a few teams might be mathematically eliminated. I'm not really sure at this point. But as concerning as the offense is, I still look at this Bears game and look at how is our defense going to stop them. Did we overreact too quickly to Jalen Phillips? Did we put too much hope in Brandon Graham? Did we put too many expectations on Nolan Smith? That secondary is going, Quinion Mitchell and Cooper Dejean, even with them out there, that secondary is going to get eaten alive if Reed Blankenship, Drew Mukuba, and Adoree Jackson are out there. And we know Drew Mukuba is not going to be out there. Drew Mukuba might not be out there the rest of the season. Drew Mukuba might miss the rest of the season. That's an awful lot of Sidney Brown. Awful lot of Sidney Brown. And as bad as Adoree Jackson's been at times, it's a lot of Keely Ringo. Because obviously they don't trust Jacorian Bennett. Even with Adoree Jackson going down, Jacorian Bennett saw 0 defensive snaps on Sunday. How is that possible? We thought the Giants with Tyree Taylor, the Seahawks with Drew Lock, and the Saints at 23 were wins too. Sorry, even washing my mouth out of suit. Yeah, look, I get it. I get it. And 23 was a disaster. It absolutely was. We got to hope that's not the case this year. As much as I'm not a fan of Andy Reid in-game philosophy, he always managed to right a ship. Nick hasn't shown that. We overblew a 2-2 start, so I need to see bounce back from Nick Sirianni. Well, we were 2-2 last year, and it bounced back pretty well. Okay? The wheels were falling off last year through 4 weeks, and we figured it out. See, and Rick, and good morning to you, Rick. The Justin Simmons on line 2 jokes, I get it. I hear it. There's a couple things there. A couple different angles to look at the Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons, A, is not the answer this week against the Bears. Even if he came in today, he wouldn't be ready to play against the Bears. All right? Having not played football all year. B, okay? Why hasn't he been signed by anybody else at this point? Okay? Obviously, he's not the all-pro that he used to be. All right? C, if he was such a perfect fit in a Vic Fangio system, why hasn't he been brought in yet, right? There's so much wrong with it. But on the flip side, after Friday's game, if you want to bring Justin Simmons in, I'm okay with it. A long week to get him ready? Sure. Why not? I have no problem with it. But I don't know if he's the answer. Because if he was the answer, he would have been on a team for somebody by now. All right? That's just what I think about the Justin Simmons stuff. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But it's not going to help this week. Not at all this week. In-season bounce back. Well, we bounced back in season in 24. We started 2-2. People were calling for Nick Sirianni. People were calling for, Kellen Moore to be fired. Hell, they were calling Vic Fangio lost a step. We started out really bad the first 4 weeks last year, and then we bounced back. KC smokes Dallas on Thursday, and Eagles punch out Chicago on Friday, and everyone will be able to excel. I mean, it'll be great. I don't know. What's Dallas's record on Thanksgiving? I would think Dallas would have the advantage being a short week at home and stuff like that. Not the owner reshuffling the cards for me. No, I was not clamoring for Simmons in the offseason. Basically, all the things I just said, I said in the offseason as well. Okay? That maybe, and I've also questioned, we haven't heard. We know Jalen Phillips and Vic Fangio had a great relationship. If Vic Fangio and Justin Simmons had this great relationship, he would have been brought here already. Howie Roseman hasn't given Vic Fangio every player he wants, but he's given him almost every player he's wanted, or every style of player he's wanted. Justin Simmons was not on my radar this offseason. I said you got to go somewhere in a different direction. Like your optimism, Rick. Let's hope. Look, Rick's always the epitome of optimism, and I love it. It's great to the negative people. It's great to my down the middle look at things. But stop. Justin Simmons wouldn't help this week anyway. Even if he is the answer long term, he wouldn't help this week. The dude, it took Brandon Graham was in retirement, and he was older, obviously, than Justin Simmons. It took 3 weeks till he even got on the field, coming out of retirement. That was earlier in the season, okay? And even then, Brandon Graham, out of position multiple times in very few snaps this past week. Because, not playing in games, you kind of got to get in game shape. Even if they signed Justin Simmons today, at best he'd be available for the Chargers. More likely, he'd be available for the Raiders game. And then you'd have him and Reed Blankenship back there. When I played football, I was motivated to be great every time I stepped on the field. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think the team is just disorganized. Maybe too many distractions. Look, distractions are a problem. And this Eagles team is filled with distractions. But my question of the day is Nick Sirianni's not panicking. Nick Sirianni is sticking up for Kevin Patullo. And is his, hey, I got my man's back kind of in the media thing, is the way he said, Kevin Patullo did a good job and no, I'm not making changes. Is the way he handled that situation a distraction? Could he have spoken differently, leaving the door open to maybe make a change, right? Is that causing a distraction? Some Buffalo clown posters for the Gold Coast. Oh, my God. I don't know if that's him or somebody else. I'm not sure who it is. This team always looks like they don't practice. They do look ill-prepared. And honestly, again, Landon Dickerson and Fred Johnson, and some of these comments from after the game, from some of the key players, makes me think that they weren't well prepared. And are they? Now, they could practice harder, but, I was chatting with Jason, my golf podcast co-host and Detroit Lions super fan, and he talks about how the Lions practice too hard, and that's why they're always injured. 17 guys on the IR this year, over 20 last year. There's got to be some middle ground on practice, preparing better. I think they practice fine, but the preparation around practice needs to be better. Nick doesn't panic because he doesn't know what to do. Look, the guy's a Super Bowl winning coach. The dude's been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and he's got the best winning percentage in Eagles history for head coach. So obviously he does something right, JJ. There's something done right in the Eagles organization with Nick Sirianni. So, look, I get the frustrations. I get it. I'm frustrated with them too. Okay? Absolutely, I'm frustrated with them. But I also understand that the head coach is not the main problem. Is there a chance this fan base tends to panic way too easily? Win versus KC and KC win in Tampa. Look, these are all things I've already said. Okay? But the last part of it, not as bad as it looked on Sunday. I'm here to say it is as bad as it looked on Sunday. Because Sunday wasn't the first time they looked like that. They looked like that in some of those wins that you're talking about. The Cowboys had nothing to lose. Those other teams, maybe they didn't, maybe it wasn't as much of their Super Bowl as we made it out to be. But I'm not panicking, so to speak. The fan base does panic. It's an overreactionary fan base. It's an overreactionary sport. And honestly, and I've said it before, Rick, it's okay to be overreactionary as a fan. It's being a sports fan, a diehard. It's an emotional thing. You pour your heart and soul into cheering on a team. When you want to overreact, I get it. And I know you want everybody to stay level-headed. It's tough to do. I'm talking about true adversity, not a hangnail of a 2-2 start with all the talent in the world. Just right the ship under a challenge. So, I mean, it just depends on how you evaluate a challenge. You're saying not a hangnail of a 2-2 start. Well, we're 8-3 right now. That's even less of a hangnail. What was the Rams' lead against the Eagles when we came back and beat them? They didn't panic. Repeat after me. Everybody breathe. Everything will be all right. Woosah, woosah. I never used to overreact, but then 2023 happened. And look, we learn from the past. Even though every year is different, we react based off of what we learned in the past. And it's very hard. I'm not comparing this year to 23, but I understand why people do. And I think you and others are validated in doing it. Can it beer man? What? 2024 did happen. 100%. So did 2017. The good and the bad. We have been blessed with some greatness recently in the city. But we've also been cursed with a lot of badness over the last 100+ years. Go ahead and say it. Goose Verba? I'm missing that one. Fangio wasn't here in 23. He wasn't. And look, again, I've said it once, I said it twice, I said it 100 times. It wasn't the offense's fault in 23. It was the defense's fault. But also, on the flip side, making that change on defense from the side of Patricia is really what the downfall really happened from. Let's be honest. If I remember correctly in 23, the defense was a problem, obviously. But the defense was made, like Sean Desai. I remember talking on this show a lot about Sean Desai's great halftime adjustments. And how can he just have a complete game? So Sean Desai was having half good games. Kind of like Kevin Patullo, right? He was just having bad first halves, adjusting well at halftime, and having good second halves. The problem in 2025 is we're having good first halves, not adjusting in the second half, and having bad second halves. But then they made that change. And it went from having half of good games to completely bad games completely. Yeah, I think I might have only seen anger management once. 17 was real true adversity, losing 3 potential Hall of Fame players and an MVP candidate from that year. Absolutely. 17 was a huge adjustment and a huge adversity. I just would like to see more adjustments and try different personnel, especially on offense. Absolutely agree. And that's where a consultant coming in would, in theory, help. Kevin Patullo's got more on his plate than he can handle. An extra voice would help, for sure. At least in the practice meetings, at least in the game planning, at least in those things. It definitely would help. All right, we're at the hour 20 mark. We're still over 20 likes. Still at 882. Guys, we've got 10 minutes. We got 20 minutes. We got as much time as we want. But still hit that like button if you haven't. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this out, guys, if you haven't. Vote in the poll. It's kind of leveling out the poll. Does Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts needs to be more vocal in leadership? Yes is up to 46. No's up to 15%. Just Nick Sirianni, 12%. Jalen Hurts, 27%. The Detroit offense is laid out amazing, and Eagles held them to single digits. Same. Eagles defense went into Green Bay. I know. I was watching them. Sunday was an anomaly. I'm not putting much stock in it. I'm not putting much stock in the defense. Failures in the second half. But the offense struggling for half of a game, more than half of a game, 41 minutes of a game, is concerning because it's not the first time. And Dallas, by the way, Dallas's offense, you could say, was the third best offense. You understand that. But Dallas's defense was the 30th ranked defense in football. And you didn't put up any points for 41 minutes. They gave up almost 30 points a game. We scored 21 all in the first 18 minutes of the game. So that's the problem. I played football against teams that were well coached and executed every play with precision. Those kind of teams are nearly impossible to beat. Every play is like a factory assembly line. Well, the Eagles don't have that regularly or consistently. We have not played the Commanders 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. Week 16 and week 18, we play them. So that's 2 more wins right there. They're seemingly pass blocking better than run blocking, but they're overcompensating. They are one-dimensional. What's up, Elephant? Late to the party as always. It's okay. Better late than never. Hey, Rick, I've said this 4 times today. You come in at certain parts of the show and you miss half the things you say, I say first when you're not in the chat. Again, arguably one of the most difficult on-paper schedules I've ever seen the Eagles have through 12 weeks of an NFL season. And we're 8-3. And I had us at 8-3 at this point. I might have picked some of the wrong games. I picked the Broncos game. I had the Broncos, the KC, and Green Bay as our losses, I think it was. Or the Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos, KC. And I think we're the losses. And Green Bay. Anyway, I get it. We're 8-3. That's great. We should be ecstatic at being 8-3 right now. But we see how we've gotten to 8-3, and we're concerned. We are concerned, and I think concerns are valid. I think concerns are warranted, and the concerns might not get alleviated, Rick, this week because it is a tough matchup in a tough situation in a tough spot. Now, the home team in this situation definitely should and is favored. I think actually the last I looked, we're like 7-point favorites in this game. Yeah, 7-point favorites. Think about this. We're in panic mode. Okay? The Eagles fan base is in full panic mode. We're 8-3 going up against an 8-3 Bears team. And we are a 7-point favorite. That tells me that the bookies know not to panic about this Eagles team. Normally run block is easier, but the nature of their injuries have taken away from that core leg and core strength. Fred Johnson's a good backup, but dude bends at the waist too much. Yeah, I mean, he didn't make a good name for himself. If the Eagles go in and smoke the Bears on Friday, is there any chance we overreact in the opposite way, clamoring about how great this team is? The answer is no. This fan base loves to complain. No, this fan base does overreact in that way. There'll be a lot of "we're Super Bowl champions already" comments. Guarantee that. We can't run is most alarming. Absolutely. And why isn't Tank Bigsby alleviating some of that? Why hasn't Jeff Stoutland, figured out an answer? I don't know. It's very possible. And that a 7-point line tells me that is very possible. My biggest concern on Friday, Rick, is not the offensive stagnant, second halves. My biggest concern is the secondary. If you're missing Reed Blankenship, Adoree Jackson, and the already announced out Drew Mukuba, that is a huge, huge loss. You're relying on Keely Ringo, Jacorian Bennett, Andre Sam, Michael Carter, and Perry Nickerson, 1 or 2 of those names, and Sidney Brown to step up and make plays, and that's a fear of mine. That's a major, major fear of mine, is how are we going? You better have 5 or 6 sacks on Caleb Williams. You better hit Caleb Williams 8, 9, 10 times. Otherwise, if he has time like Dak Prescott, he'll pick our practice squad secondary apart. Fan base absolutely overreacts the other way when the expectation is lower. It does indeed work both ways. It absolutely works both ways. 100%. 100%. I'm trying to pull this up here with the Bears stat sheet. Caleb Williams has been sacked 17 times in 11 games. So actually, he hasn't been sacked that many times. He's got a really low completion percentage, 59% on the season, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions thrown. Just trying to figure out where Caleb Williams' season's been. I'm not a Caleb Williams guy. I think Caleb Williams is an overrated quarterback. He had a really solid game against the Steelers this past week. Up that completion percentage. Big time. I think it was like a 53%, 54% before that Steelers game. You got to get pressure. Check it out on Friday. You guys doing it on Friday this week. Gotcha. Oh, Thursday's Thanksgiving. Gotcha. So yours will be, I'm guessing you're going to record after the Eagles game. There'll be a lot of drunken overreactions one way or the other. Low man wins when you run block. It sounds odd, but smaller, more athletic O-linemen are usually the better run blockers. Tall offensive linemen, yeah, leverage, I guess. 90% of the fan base had the Sixers in the NBA Finals. After that is so true. So true. So true. Steelers never, ever win in Chicago. Not overly impressed by the Bears. Look, I just went through it. I didn't realize how weak their schedule's been. And Caleb Williams, to me, is an overmatched quarterback for sure. But they're still 8-3. You can only play the teams that are on your schedule. We wouldn't be, if the Eagles were 8-3 and things were going better, we would say, it was a light schedule, If the Eagles were 8-3 with the Bears schedule, we'd be saying they're 8-3. You can only play the teams on the schedule. The best time to record anything is right after a game, when the emotions are high, good or bad. Nothing better than a recording immediately after a game. The overreactions, I love them. Absolutely love those instant overreactions. Eagles on Black Friday, 3 o'clock. It's such a great time, too. 3 p.m., game gets over by 6:30. Plenty of time to record things. Plenty of times to still do other stuff and still get a good night's. It's 3 o'clock's the perfect time. Sixers still winning it all. No, they're not. Eagles have played. I think the last I looked, it was the second hardest based off of current win-loss records. Based off of last year's win-loss records, I think it was the hardest at this point of the season. Look, it's a miracle. I think I would feel the same way I do now, Rick, if they were 6-4. To win the games we've won against the competition we've won. How many of those teams, the Lions, the Bucks, the Rams, the Chiefs still, technically, think that they have a chance at going to the Super Bowl? And we beat them all, the Packers, the Lions. And by the way, the Sixers. VJ Edgecombe out again tonight. Who else like me thinks it's kind of a good timing that he's got a little minor injury and that he's going to miss? He missed his last game. He's missing this game. Getting VJ Edgecombe off his feet a few games to kind of chill out and rest and recoup. He was burning out, that kid. He's playing good, but he's burning out a little bit. So it's kind of good timing for him to miss a few games. And Sam, man, it's hard to get low when your knee strength is not where it needs to be, or the trust. I think the trust as well. I'm still standing. Dun, 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 dun. I love a good Elton John song. What's up, y'all? What's up, Bach? How you doing? Ready for redemption. Feel good about the Bears game. I'm still torn. Still torn on it. It could go either way at this point, in my opinion. Good time. I think, I don't ever want somebody, Rick, to get hurt. I don't think anybody wants anybody to get hurt. But a small, minor injury at this point probably was best for him to kind of sit back and relax and take a big picture look at what's going on. I mean, he's been playing good, but I think it's a good thing. I always overreact. What are the chances we can hire a veteran OC that will stay? I I mean, that's something to talk about, JJ, for the offseason. Okay? To me, for some reason, I think Kevin Patullo is our head coach, or not our head coach, or God forbid, our offensive coordinator next year still. I still think something happens, and he does just enough to keep his job. Reginald Dwight? What? I don't think VJ is hurt at all. He may be worn down and sore. Yeah, just like a, I think what they call it, a quad or a thigh issue or something. I just think they're saying he's got a minor little soreness, and we want him to take a step back. It's also giving Jarrett McCain an opportunity to get in the game more and get his groove back. Any chance this offense might run better through McKee? Aaron McKee? You think Aaron McKee would be better for this offense? Yeah, I know. By the way, the Elton John movie was terrible. If you haven't seen it, it's poorly done. As all musical biopics are bad. Yeah, and Aaron McKee is an LP. Look. Oh, sorry. You're we start talking Sixers. You're talking Tanner McKee. Before you even respond, Tanner McKee. No, Tanner McKee doesn't change anything. You got to get off the Tanner McKee train, okay? He's a backup on this team. I definitely lost some cred, I'm sure, by thinking you were talking Sixers and Aaron McKee there. But Tanner McKee doesn't change anything. Tanner McKee does not make the offensive line block better. Tanner McKee does not make the run game magically open up. Tanner McKee doesn't get A.J. Brown to run routes out. That's why the offensive line should wear knee braces. Landon is banged up. Cam Jurgens is wearing a knee brace right now. I don't know if anybody else is, but yeah. All right. We're near the end today. It's been a good show. Good conversation. I think we didn't answer anything, but I think we have a good understanding of what's going on. Would McKee read the defense better and get the ball out quicker? No, because let's be honest, pass blocking's been better than run blocking this year, but pass blocking's still not been good. I think Tanner McKee would take a lot more sacks than Jalen Hurts because he doesn't have the mobility to evade some of the pressure that comes Jalen Hurts' way. Let's be honest, the pass blocking's not been good for a few years for the Eagles. People won't admit it, but it hasn't been. Jalen Hurts masks some of the pass blocking deficiencies of this team. So would he get the ball out quicker? Maybe a little bit. He's taller, but I don't know. There may be plays that we say Jaelan doesn't make that throw, but overall I think the less than ideal circumstance get to him in the end. Yeah, look, I think there's certain things that Tanner McKee could and would do better, but overall I don't think he would be a better quarterback. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate that. AJ loves when McKee plays. How do you know that? I mean, it's not happened that many times. Look, the play calling just got to be better. The execution's just got to be better, and the team just got to get healthier. I think that's all the answers that we have and need towards all these problems. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up. If you're watching on replay, please like, subscribe, share. If you haven't hit that like button, subscribe, please do. We'll be back tomorrow with more great content. We'll see what goes on around here today. As much as I hate the Eagles, you all know how to win. I think you all finished 13-4. I'm sticking to 12-5. I'm sticking to my one preseason prediction, but let's hope they right the ship. And thanks for tuning in, and thanks for having a conversation. Not all Cowboys fans are D-bags. Just like not all Eagles fans throw snowballs at Santa. One or two bad eggs always give the rest a bad rap. You are welcome to come in and chat football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf. I host a golf podcast during the season. You're welcome to join this channel anytime in the chat. Back in my day, we hit the sled every practice for at least 100 yards. Yeah, go Birds, always. I'm off the rest of the week. That's good. I mean, I'm unemployed, so, I'm off as much as I want, or whenever I want. Eagles 4-0 in the playoffs. That's all that matters. I prefer 3-0, because that would mean we get the bye, but we got some work to do to get that bye now. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up for the day. Hour 35 minutes today, not too shabby. We're between hour 35 and hour and 45 now that I'm unemployed. So you want me to do a night show? Maybe. Sixers play tonight. What time is the Sixers game tonight? Maybe I go live for tonight's Sixers game. I don't know. Or at least for some of it. Maybe we do a Sixers training in the PM. They don't play till 8 o'clock. Maybe I'll do a training in the PM. Maybe I do a training in the PM tonight. Maybe I do a training in the PM tomorrow night and then skip Thursday morning show and sleep in on Thanksgiving. Maybe that's what I do. I don't know. Let me figure it out. You want me to go live for the last 5 minutes of Sixers? Last 5 minutes of Sixers, yeah. Anyway, with that being said, everybody have a great day. Stay tuned. If you're subscribed, you got notifications on, you know when I'll go live next. Everybody have a great day today. We'll talk later. Go Birds. Bubbles up.